Good morning, everybody. Welcome to Understanding the Human Condition. I'm your host, Dr. James Flowers, and I am so excited today to have my incredible friend, John West, with us. Hey, John.
Hi, how are you, Dr. Flowers? I'm so happy to be here. We don't get to see each other enough, and it's wonderful to spend some time with you this
We
morning.
don't. We collaborate all the time. It's amazing. You're in Florida and all over the country, and I'm in Houston and travel all over the country. And our paths will cross and we hug each other. But you know what? That's the best kind of friend, right? Is when you don't have to get on the phone and say hello every day, how are you? But when you see each other, it's like, oh, I feel like I saw you yesterday.
No time has passed.
I
Yeah,
know.
absolutely.
And I'm going to be remiss if I don't make another comment about those glasses. Those are phenomenal glasses. I'm getting ready to go to the progressives too.
Yeah, it's a sign that I'm either maturing or getting older. I fought it for a long time, but my wife thinks that I look distinguished, or smarter.
What you absolutely do. How is
Making
Audra?
it. She is wonderful. We just had our son who was born on Halloween of last year. And so he's
Yeah.
almost 4 months old. And it's an amazing thing to kind of step into fatherhood and have all these new responsibilities. And I went around our town and joined the board of the education department, and
Wow.
we're treating all the firemen in town and reaching out to the police force to treat them because I want to make sure that if he's anything like me, that when he's a teenager, he's got a few get out of jail free cards. So,
Absolutely right. Let's get started early and get on those boards. It's
okay.
amazing how your life changes when you become a parent, right? What would you say the biggest change in your life has been since October?
I would say a shift in perspective. My life has been sort of focused on the outside world and, working as that, 24 hours a day, we're working with other clients and
Yeah.
their needs and their families. And all of a sudden, in one day, that focus shifted to this little human being. And I think I was ready for the long nights and
Yeah.
and I don't know, sort of prepared for it. I didn't think I would be, but it's a shift in perspective,
Well,
from the outside world and everybody to
yeah.
one little baby.
Well,
So
huge congratulations to both you
thank
and
you.
Audra. I know that you guys are already amazing parents and you're going to raise an amazing human being. So I can't wait to cannot believe I haven't met him yet, but hopefully soon.
We'll travel with him and set it up hopefully in the next few months to get you
Exactly.
married.
I want to read something just real quick. You made some show comments before today. John West, of course, of Sober Companions and so many other things that we'll talk about. But you said, our job is to make space, listen, and hear those suffering from substance and mental health conditions that have kept them stuck. Our personal experience of recovery and expertise and connecting those in need with the best and brightest is our mission. It's a good place to be in these current times of stress, overwhelming anxiety in the world. The future is brighter when we can listen, connect, and help. Can you expand on that just a little bit?
Absolutely. Wow, I can't believe I said that.
Yeah. Wow, John, that was great.
Also, I actually this morning I was thinking about that, thinking about how we were going to be speaking this morning and thinking about what you do and our experience. And I think one of the loneliest places to be is to be suffering in pain and not have somebody who understands, to reach out, whatever that pain is, mental health,
Yeah.
physical pain, addiction, loss, depression. And so, as somebody, I've gone through, recovery from different things throughout my life. So I'm able to kind of, share from my experience how I got out of a difficult situation.
Yeah.
But I think our jobs are to be as informed and good at what we do, excellent at what we do, and get the information and care to people who are cut off, their, trauma or addiction or mental health, shut them off from the outside world. And it's a very lonely, scary place. And if we can make that really inviting and comfortable and use all our skills of communication and, humor and, expertise, in the medical area
Yeah.
to bring them out of that shell and, serve as a bridge to healing.
Yeah.
I think that's when I was a kid, I wanted to be work in film and movie producer and all
Hmm.
these things. And this career sort of came to me through a series of different, a long path,
Yep.
but I'm very clear about it now, which is however we can break down those barriers to get help to people. And, the clientele that you work with
Hmm.
and that we work with there are these extra barriers
They
that
are.
not everybody understands, complex medical conditions and, massive wealth and
Yep.
family dynamics and all these things. And our job is to be excellent at getting to the client and having them trust and connect and be able to share with us. So finding a way to be there as a safe space.
Absolutely. I can't tell you how important it's been at J. Flowers Health Institute to really collaborate with you over the last few years as much as we do in working with companions and what those companions bring as far as stability to the clients that fly in from really all over the world into Houston and stay with us anywhere from 2 weeks to a year at a time. I think we've worked with some of you guys or your companions for over a year with the same client. And they truly become just a foundation of stability in their life. How do you, when you're interviewing companions and when you're talking to people and people call you all the time and say, hey, John, can I work with you and be a companion? What do you look for in the qualities of someone wanting, because not everyone can be a companion. It's a tough,
No.
I truly do not think I could be a companion. I don't know about you, but it's a tough job.
It takes a very special kind of person.
Yeah.
I did it for a long time.
Yeah.
And then I got to a point where I couldn't do it anymore because it was a point in my life where I could do it, 18 months in a row and travel the world. And then it switched where I wouldn't be as good as, somebody who, we've had for, who's been training for a year. I don't necessarily have that in me anymore. It's a very specific piece. So the first thing to look out for would be, everybody reads articles about it being the rock and roll lifestyle and the money and stuff like that. And so that would be the first thing that you it's a red flag when people start talking about that.
Yeah.
The second is, I want this to be my, I just want to help people. And, this is my recovery. And it's a very different thing from recovery. So that would actually be a red flag too. Helping people is absolutely the motivation, but this is separate from, somebody who's in recovery, because it's a professional paid position. So it's somebody who's very good at listening to the clinical team, and that's the most difficult point is that, companions are they are an arm of the clinical team.
That's right.
They are, they have to take direction and they have to, they can't be questioning the clinical team. They're, an extension of the clinical team for the other 20 hours of the day.
Right.
And
that's what I was going to say is they actually spend far much more time with individuals than the clinical team. It's so important for them, and all of your companions clearly have been trained well by you and your team, but they listen, they watch for nuances, and they pass that information along to the clinical team. And that really helps us have a great understanding, a better, more clear understanding of that individual when they're not in treatment.
Absolutely. I would say that working as an arm and not trying to, somebody who comes and wants to be a companion and say they want to treat people, it is, there's all these red flags.
Yeah.
And over the years, there's been so many people, and from, I know from my own experience, the mistakes I made and the things I learned. And so it's somebody who's really great at being, as you say, observant and passing the right information to the clinical team so then they can work with that. And they see things that, you won't see in the office, when you're doing a 2-hour session or, an assessment. And so is this information, we got to make sure we're protecting the client's, privacy, but is this something that rises to the level of this will help them if it's shared with the clinical team and it can be worked on.
Right.
And so it's looking for themes, things that pop up that are, your gut, like this doesn't seem right, or the family seems to be overly, the client's doing well, but why do I have 37 calls from the mother today?
Yeah, exactly.
I have to feed this information. I can't make it a judge. I can't judge that.
That's
right.
right.
But I can feed that information to your team and have that dealt with. So the client is sort of given the space to heal.
Right.
It's sort of an intangible, but and very quickly you can see, you can see quickly if somebody's good or not. They'll sort of be flushed out in a couple of weeks.
So, okay. I was going to say, so you and I have not talked about this beforehand, so I think you and I obviously will share the same philosophy on this, but someone goes to guest house and they go through treatment and they're there for 3 months or 6 months, or they're at J. Flowers Health Institute or anywhere else in the country in amazing programs, and they get out of treatment and they're still in this pink cloud phase and they're like, John, I want to be a companion. I'm available tomorrow. What's your answer?
I would say here's some other companies that you could work with to do some transports, maybe like a half a day transport or something like that.
Yeah.
It takes a long time because I've been, I've had situations which reputation is everything. So like
Yeah.
one person doing something that's off-putting
Oh,
or,
yeah.
can really take down, years of great stuff. So in general, I like to kind of have somebody jump through hoops with another company,
Right.
like
Absolutely.
go work, and then, start with maybe transports or something like that and train somebody for a little while
Yeah.
and then ease them in to situations. It's not an exact science because the calls are so sort of immediate,
Right.
but I think it takes, I would say, at least 5 years of sobriety if you're coming
Yeah.
from recovery. And we're watching when we have a client, we ask the clients how it was,
Sure.
and we're constantly interviewing almost to the point it takes me a long time to kind of trust somebody, and
Likewise. Yep.
right. Yeah,
Well,
exactly.
and you guys are impeccable at what you do, and you have an amazing training program, and you put the right people. It's an art. It really is. It's an art and almost a science together, and putting the right companion with the right client. And you guys do an amazing job with it. Let's talk just a minute about, obviously, I want to talk about you and Judy and the guest house and the Guest House Ocala, which is one of my favorite programs in the United States. It's amazing and what you've done and the growth that you've experienced. Huge congratulations on that. Tell everybody a little bit about your experience at Guest House and what's going on today.
Well, I feel like we're from similar classes. We all kind of sat down and we're opening our programs at a
Yeah.
similar time. And
Yeah.
I think we were in San Diego talking
Yeah.
about like, which are you going to build the website with? And now, there's this
Yeah.
great success and kind
Mm-hmm.
of, it's amazing. So the idea, and I went to the Refuge in 2004. Judy was the head of the Refuge. It was a treatment center. I went through that program,
Yeah.
went back out into the world and started working in film or back in film. And that led to, I went to some trainings, became a sober companion and interventionist. And I was working sort of with this client where he had been to treatment and they had violated his privacy a couple of times, and he had a schedule to do that hundreds of people were basically being employed.
Mm-hmm.
And if he went off the treatment or went off course for the next 18 months, there was going to be a lot of people that would have lost their jobs. And so we set up a team that sort of traveled with him. A chef, a beautiful environment, therapist, spiritual advisor, companion. His physical health was taken care of by this very talented person. And while I was doing that job, I was also working with Judy, and we had been working with different families, and we had this idea where, we'd been traipsing all over the world,
Yeah.
Setting up very similar to what you
Yep.
do in one
Sure.
place. We were trying to do that in different countries. And she said, we have to do this in one place because of the group dynamic, the idea that, between 9 and 18 people, you work a lot better because if somebody else is sharing, your guard is down and you're actually doing work,
Absolutely.
listening to them. And so we went and found this property and started off with 16 beds. We're now up to 35. And but the idea came from when I was traveling with this client, very similar to what you've done. And it was, how do we make an environment where we bring those barriers down? The beds are beautiful. The food is wonderful.
Yeah.
You're doing all this really difficult emotional work. How do we make it a beautiful place where you feel supported by the staff and you can let go and let down? And then COVID hit, and we took that philosophy to COVID. We're basically saying, okay, we're going to have this safe 50-acre environment, and we're not going to let that in the door.
Yeah.
So we set up a protocol of quarantine and things like that. And we haven't had a client get sick since the beginning of the pandemic. But it's just one piece of how do we make this a safe space?
Yeah.
That's kind of we do all the things, all the,
Sure.
the
Yeah.
clinical things. But at the heart of it, what I wanted was sort of selfishly, if I relapse, where would I go?
Yeah. Absolutely.
I went back to treatment. I want something where the food's good, the beds are nice, the clinical
Sure.
team is not shaming,
Yeah.
they're supportive, and they are really looking, and they're the best.
Right.
They're the best at what they do.
Yeah. There's a philosophy, there's some people that have a philosophy of, what, they don't need the best blankets and the best beds and the best property and the best this and the best that. And, I disagree with that. I really believe that if you have a strong clinical team in place like we have, like Guest House has, you have Judy Crane, you have the rest of the team at Guest House, it's beyond reproach. And they do amazing clinical work. And when you leave an environment of comfort and you go to treatment, you want to be in comfort. And there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with being comfort and cared for and loved and taken care of in a holistic way while you're doing good, hardcore recovery work. And so I applaud what you guys are doing, and you're doing amazing work at Guest House. So tell Judy I said hello as well.
I definitely will. I think where our two programs are very simpatico, and
Yeah.
like I think the philosophies are the same, the work is the same. That idea that if you're going someplace to really do this work, and it's difficult to go through emotional, turmoil. I was in treatment with a Green Beret. He said, jumped out of airplanes and been on the battlefield, and this work is work is scarier and harder.
Exactly.
And you want it to be comfortable and and supportive, and I'm proud to say I believe in that rather than
I am too.
Sort of like, oh no, this, because there is sort of a stigma to like, oh,
absolutely, no. I think that you and Audra and Judy are an amazing team, and I love just following and watching you guys grow and the great work that you're doing. You and I also share something else, and that is that we both lost our fathers. And it was pretty difficult on both of us. It still is as adult men. I miss my dad tremendously. He died when I was 10 years old in front of me and had a heart attack in front of me at the dinner table. You lost your dad. Talk a little bit about your dad and your experience in growing up with him, and, tell the world who he is and who he was, and then kind of what you've gone through since losing your dad and how you've made it through that trauma.
It's interesting. I still remember you and I had a dinner in Florida, and we had talked about this. And your history and family history is so fascinating. Very cool. So my dad was an actor. His name was J.T. Walsh. He was a character actor. He started a little bit later in life. And so I grew up around, Broadway and later on movie sets. And it was sort of I was about 6 or 7 years old when he kind of started, and he started on Broadway. And so I didn't know anything different. I just thought, oh, our life is changing. We're meeting all these famous people, and, it's a different experience.
Yeah.
And I would tell my friends in school and things like that. And then at 23, I was living with him in California, and I was working in film, and he died suddenly. And we were sort of in a argument about he was in recovery at the time, and I was, at 23, drinking and using, and we were arguing about that basically in a general way. And I felt that, I had messed up because I didn't have I had an unfinished phone call with him, basically, where we weren't able to end that argument or that fight about the way my life was going and my relationship with him. And so for the next 9 years, that really guided, my addiction, and I took on all this guilt. And then doing trauma work, I kind of saw that that's not, he had his own path. I had mine. And recently having a son, I named him Liam James Walsh West. So I gave him my father's name. And the relationship now is this wonderful kind of memory. And also realizing, having a son, the difficulties or the things that I used to be upset with him about, father and son, just in 3 months going, oh my goodness, it makes so much more sense now. The love I have for this child, but also like, am I able to protect him? Am I going to be a good father? Am I, all the different questions you have, and then having a career, and it's put it really into perspective. But I think that abandonment or loss at a young age, father and son, is, I said this when it happened. It felt like, there was a crack in the universe, and only other people who had lost a parent would understand.
Right.
Because all of a sudden I felt like, you understand, and that you just have to say your experience. And I go, oh, you get that, and it's guided. I followed, trying to live up to him, and followed into film, which was great. But then I found my own path, and I know now that this is what I'm supposed to be doing, and it still is connected to film. I have like a media wing, and there's things that we're doing in recovery that kind of keeps me in that world. But it's on my terms, and it took a while to grow up.
Absolutely.
And kind of work through that. And I just did an intensive with Judy and Tom. We do these intensives, and that was the work. It was about letter from my son to my father. And
that's amazing.
So anyway, I don't know if that answers the question.
No, of course it does.
It's gotten better.
Of course. Yeah, absolutely. No, of course it does. And you have an amazing mother as well. I'm sure she must be in awe over this new grandchild.
Yeah, she moved 2 blocks away. She bought a house 2 blocks away, and she was coming over every day to, she bought a second home that's right around the corner, and would walk the dogs and come see the baby. And 2 weeks ago, she fell off a chair and broke her femur. All of a sudden, now we're we're looking after her. But we just had a big gathering with our whole family, and we celebrated her birthday. And she's just over the moon with having a new baby.
I know she is. And all the best to her and her recovery. God, that's not fun to break a femur.
Straight through. And
Ugh.
she didn't, it's sort of like a family thing. The fire department was there and they were asking her what her pain level was, and she couldn't really say. And they checked her blood pressure was 250. I said, just let it go. Just tell them you're in pain. It's okay.
Exactly. Let them give you the morphine. You're going to be all right. You need pain meds. Exactly. I love it. Do you have a daily routine that creates a successful day? Do you follow a daily routine that really sets your day up for success?
Yeah, recently I've been editing the routine. So I have a whole team of people. I have a doctor that I check in with every morning. I have to send him, sort of my intake from the day before of protein and fiber and calories and where I'm at. I have a meditation routine in the morning, which is guided by, my sponsor, and he's giving me these. I walk the dogs. I pretty much 99% of the time make breakfast and coffee for my wife. And that's because I can't get away with it if I don't. And then, but basically meditating and kind of trying to get into the day and plan out the day. This is a particularly stressful week because we have JCO, he's
coming to do a recertification
Right. Yeah. And which is the end of the certification board. And we're, mopping and cleaning. Everything's beautiful. And, and then, at the end of the day, I'm, doing some journaling, some, going through the day. It's something that started off years ago with just sort of a quick meditation in the morning and at night. And now it's been tweaked to having other people outside of myself tell me kind of what to do.
And to be able to listen to those people.
Doctor, a sponsor. When I look at it, I'm like, wow, it takes a lot of people helping me to run my, day.
Robin Mooney, I think, told me about this doctor that you're working with. And I think I looked him up on Facebook, maybe. You need to text me his information because I'm super interested in what you're doing with them. And obviously anything to improve our health and nutrition. And, you've got Audra to help you do that and stay on top of you and watch that you're doing it. And that's so cool.
During COVID and having a baby, and she was in the hospital for 78 days, and we were ordering, Cheesecake Factory in the hospital and bringing pizzas to the staff and all this. And so we saw this doctor that basically it's an inflammation diet, and take your blood test and find out what you're allergic to. And so for her, it was, one of the things was vinegar, and she's been putting vinegar on her salads for years.
Yeah.
And not understanding why she's not feeling well. So it's a process, and also we're trying to tell other people that we know what a good routine is and what a good way to kind of recover is. I have to do the best I can to live that as well. I can't be, telling somebody I'm not willing to do myself.
Exactly. Yeah. Same here. I think life is just kind of we're always navigating through the best we can do, right? Both of us. Yeah. And then, we have these busy careers and we have busy families and lives that we go on. But, you're someone that sets the bar in this industry. And I thank you so much for what you do. I appreciate you coming on this show today. Unfortunately, I'm a little bit out of time here, but I just wanted to say you're amazing. I love you, and congratulations on all the success, the baby, Audra, Judy, everything.
I have to say double to that to you. Thank you for supporting us, supporting me over the last few years, and basically changing our life in all sorts of ways and collaboration. And I think the world of you, and I think you're right now, it's wonderful to see that somebody who's at the top of their game in, living excellence.
Thank you.
And seeing that, it is so inspiring.
Thank you so much. Well, likewise.
I really, it's great to see. And as we go along, it kind of, that road narrows. There's all these different programs, what you're doing is excellence.
Thank you so much. Two questions. One, if someone is looking for a companion, a family out there that's listening to this wants to talk to you about a companion, how do they reach you guys and discuss that process?
So our website, it's pretty simple. It's just www.sobercompanions.com.
Perfect.
Sobercompanions with an S.com. Yeah. And then one of our two, Maya or Kelly, will find you somebody wonderful.
Both amazing women.
They oversee all the companions. Yeah. And I've actually found that, when I step out of the way, it runs a lot better.
Yes, me too.
wow, it's going so much better because I'm not, sticking my nose in where, I'm so used to doing everything, writing every contract and doing everything. And now it's kind of flowing well with these wonderful women that are running the program.
I was in London recently, and I was there for 7 days, I think. And I came back and I walked in the office, and someone literally said, "When are you leaving again?" And I'm like, "Thanks. Good to see you too." Right. So I've learned just to kind of step back and let everybody, you have good people around us, don't we?
Absolutely. But what they don't see is the hard work that you did to get to that point where they have an office.
That's right. Yeah, exactly.
So
and with people with those suffering from trauma and addiction, how do they reach Guest House?
That is, I can give out that number, or the website is theguesthouseocala.com. And we have actually the best number if people are listening, would be Jessica in our admissions line. And her number is 352-812-2780.
Wonderful.
Or 855-483-7800. That's the toll-free number, 855-483-7800. And that's the Guest House Ocala. And we basically, we treat people who are suffering from non-substance, anything that's traumatic in your life. Well, we can figure out a way to either, refer, working with your team and, stabilizing, finding out that's what's so wonderful is clients that, can come to you. We've had clients that have been with us and after a bit of time go to you because they need something different, or we're working on a certain area and then they're through that. And now it's time to, work on more of the medical assessment.
You and I are both at that phase in our career. Thank goodness that we both collaborate with people. You are collaborators with people all over literally internationally, right? And if Guest House is not the proper place, so there's something going on with a patient that you guys can't quite pinpoint, you'll either give me a call, or you'll give people around the country a call, and people call you guys. And I think the collaboration is so important, and I appreciate collaborating with you guys every day.
I'm so grateful for our collaboration. I can't thank you enough. It's just, I'm very grateful, and it's an honor.
Yeah. Please give Audra a kiss on the cheek for me. And
I will. She wants to come see you, and hopefully you'll take us to that wonderful Mexican restaurant.
Yeah, we will do it again. Yeah. And if someone wants to reach J. Flowers Health Institute, it's jflowershealth.com or 713-783-6655. John, I love you. Take a good care.
Love you too.
Take great care.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah, you bet.
Have a great
day.
Wonderful day.
All right, bye.
Take care.